begin. From the morning funny to MAGA minute, ain't no better way to start your day the Southern way, with a little joke and pray. We're just Southern folks talking Southern things, front porch swinging where the church bells ring. From Mama said to Hum Day News, we keep it real with down home views.
Good morning, Podbean.
Sunday morning in the Word, get that gospel flow. Prayer time calls, so let's let our troubles go. Come Monday night, Mama said is bringing the truth, and when it's night talk with Dave, man, you know it's getting loose. We're just Southern folks talking Southern things, stories and sports where the good times hang. From SFP News to I Remember That, we tell it like it is, and that's a fact. Got our veteran of the week, gotta show our pride. Pets of the week, bringing love worldwide. Talking
oh yeah,
true crime.
Southern Fried MAGA live on Saturday.
So pull up a chair, y'all, and stay a while. Ain't nothing like that Southern style. From the morning show to the soundstage band, it's SFP Live, won't you give them a hand?
Commercial here in just a second, and we'll get started on about 11 different teams this morning. So good to be here. All right. Let's go. Good morning, good Saturday morning. Welcome to Southern Fried MAGA. Enjoy this time slot. It's been a lot of fun. We started off on Election Day with this particular program, and we did actually 2 very long programs, and then we were trying to find its where we were going to end up with that, and it just seemed to be the natural spot to be on a Saturday. It is a stormy Saturday. I hope if you're in the South, it probably is for you today as well. There are storms and lightning, wind, rain, yes, tornadoes in certain areas. It has been thumping pretty hard here. In fact, there were 2 very large lightning strikes pretty close by when I came to the studio, so it was not fun making that traverse back to the studio. We'll get to a commercial too here in a minute. We've got great news been going on. We signed the contract yesterday, the agreement to be an affiliate with Patriot Mobile, and excited about that. And we should have some information on that this week. That should have been the last thing. They're getting everything set up. They're a wonderful organization. I definitely want to give a shout out to them. We'll be doing ads for them, I'm sure, within the week, and will be a paying customer as well of Patriot Mobile. So it's an honor to be there along with their other affiliates. Pardon me as I try to get one of the other streams that I'm just monitoring up. I feel like I'm in a cockpit of a 747. Not quite that bad, but do have a lot of controls in here, a lot of screens, but that's a blessing. But yes, Patriot Mobile, faith-based, America First, wonderful company based out of Texas, the great state of Texas. That's a great place for businesses to go. Texas, Arizona, Tennessee, no tax, and Texas has its share of things that have been going on. It's a very diverse state, but it is a destination for a lot of people fleeing California and or taxation out of control in other states. Don't know if you can hear the rain. It's coming down pretty good right now, and there is still thunder and lightning. The rain just picked up in the last few seconds. I hope that's not bleeding over. If it is, you can sleep by it, except for my voice, because this has a, you probably heard that, this has a metal roof on it. So here I am with all this equipment, metal roof. We'll see what happens. So, but it's good to be here. Thanks for you coming in to Instagram. We see you there. Those of you in other streams, we appreciate you being here. We're going to cover some news. We have some from X, and myself, I'm in there on my. I've got my Facebook personal live within the stream today. So glad to have that. Lots of news, and we'll be doing our news desk Sunday night. We'll dig a little bit deeper in a few stories, but I want to cover a few things that have happened or are happening. Those that be serious or even funny, or not even maybe funny, but has some comical parts to it, even though they're really not good. As we get into the weekend, and we'll talk about that in just a second. We do appreciate also our affiliation with Mammoth Nation. Mammoth Nation, what a great organization as well. I've ordered several things from them. I'm a lifetime member of Mammoth Nation. Love this organization. They're fantastic. There's the QR code for them. And so many companies, and they're bringing more on all the time. Companies that are America first, companies that are hold the values that you have as an American. Now I know that every American doesn't have that, but I don't think many would watch my program that didn't have some conservative and or MAGA views. If they are, God bless you. We do get attacked here and there on some of our videos, but they usually don't hang around. They just like to throw some hate and then they move on. But I do also want to say we do appreciate our affiliation with W Energy Drinks. In fact, I'm drinking some W this morning here in the studio. We're going to throw theirs up as well. When you go to W, what I like about this energy drink, they're a lot of fun because they're always coming up with new merch, and they give great discounts. You can even get more using that Southern Fried promo code. Southern Fried. By the way, our promo code with Patriot Mobile is going to be cornbread. Cornbread. So we tie in both Southern Fried and Cornbread Nation. So, and lastly, I will say this morning that we will have a website, and I've got to send all the stuff. She's not going to be able to finish it until I get the stuff, but it's been a busy last end of the week. But we will have a website. Should be go live in the next week or so. That hopefully I've got to get all the links to all the streams and to our store. We have a new ad that we're running for our store. We didn't run it last night. I just got it done yesterday afternoon. Last night's show on Front Porch was a lot of ministry, and we didn't interrupt that with commercials with Joe and Donna Amore. Great folks. We had a lot of people come out and watch that, and I feel like it'll get a lot of play in the days ahead. And they will be back. We're going to let them, they've got a move going on. We're going to let them get their move done. And then we're going to try to have them back on a regular rotation. It won't be every week, but at least every other month. If we need to do more, we'll do that. But I think it'd be good to check back in with them. Enjoyed that last night. And a lot of people got some help. In fact, there'll be some continuing help along the way. There is still, to my understanding, some sessions that the Southern Fried Podcast paid for your first session. So your first hour with them is paid for. Just we have so many. There's not an unlimited supply, but I think that we did purchase 5. So if you need some help, please give them a shout out and just mention that. And I don't think anybody's used those yet. So we this will at least get you started, and we definitely want to do that. So let me throw that up real quick. There's that phone number. You can also look up their webpage and get some help there. So just wanted to give you that so you can see that and write that down. That's an important number. Sweet people, sweet people. Had a lot of people commenting last night, and I think they really enjoyed that. Good morning, Jake. How are you this fine Saturday morning? Is it storming in the great state of Mississippi where you're at this morning, Jake? Because right now, um, it feels like the bottom has fell out of the sky. We are definitely in a pouring down rain, thunder, lightning. Not thankfully, not a lot of wind. Not yet. Hang on, brother. Hang on, because it's rocking here. Went up to the and I want to give a shout out to Bojangles this morning in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. The Bojangles in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. Their general manager was joking with one of the ladies. They heard us podcasting and said, "Hey, you should advertise for us." Well, sure. So we'll give a shout out. Go visit Bojangles. They're under new management, and they had some problems there. They got a lot better, and so they're doing good. And the food was really good this morning. I like them fries. I'll tell you, I shouldn't, but I do. And a little side of gravy. So that's what I like. But the Bojangles and the fine crew there this morning in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. Go visit them. Get you some breakfast this morning. There wasn't anybody waiting with the weather that's going on. There was nobody in line. Of course, I got there early. Jake says when I was on there, we got a tornado warning, and he cussed. Don't cuss. Just ain't a whole lot you can do about it, but take precautions. Remember in school, like when we were in school, like my age, I mean, we were really protected. The block wall, sitting on the floor, book on top of head. Every time I was sitting in the hallway of the school, we did a tornado drill. My thought was, if these blocks come down, this book ain't going to help. I mean, I've always had a little bit of an analytical mind like that, but I did realize it was in the school, probably, safe to that degree, but the roof is not, that roof's coming off. So I always thought about blocks coming down or just being sucked out the top, to be honest. That's what I thought about. You had to do all your, oh man, what are you taking a rod shot at me this morning? Piece of stone? Wow. Well, it wasn't quite that bad. We did have pencils and paper. The old the number two pencil and paper, which is a fascinating thing to watch if you've ever watched how they make pencils. That is fascinating. It would have been hard to do it on a stone. I will have to say that. I guess I would have to get berries and mix it up and make something I could use my finger to, because I'm sure not carving into the stone. This is not the Flintstones. But lots going on with the Southern Fried Podcast. We're excited. We got a lot of work. We're working hard. Our store is up and active, and I'm going to run the ad here. This dagger's out today on the Saturday. I was a baby when Abraham Lincoln died. Oh, wow. I think that's worse than... No, you're not. Don't even try. Don't even try. I give you credit. That's a good shot. I like it. You see, the problem, it's not a problem. The difference on this podcast between me and Rob is it doesn't bother me to be called older. It doesn't bother me a bit. But it absolutely tortures him. He cannot stand it. And so that's why I've done it. He's only about 5 years younger than me. Maybe not even a full 5, maybe 5. But he acts like that's like 25. So he can't stand the thought of that. The wig, well, I can see it, but I'm not putting it on today. You're going to have to wait. Next Hump Day News on Wednesday, we're doing our hair metal show part 2, Deuce, and we're going to be in character, I guess you could say. And so the debut of and I'm in a I'll wait till then. I don't want to say. So we have a new band, and we have a new song, and we have a new name of band and name of character, at least for me. So I think you'll like it, or you can laugh at it. No, but I would have loved to, Jake. I would have loved to. Yeah, I could deal with that. Give me an autograph with George Washington. Yeah. How much would that be worth today? Oh, and I know your age because I think you told it one night. All right, welcome to Southern Fried MAGA. I appreciate those being here again. Just been kind of talking and chatting while people get in the stream, and we'll get to talking about it. I'm gonna look at a little bit of news. Right at the top, I want to ask if you saw the reporter hit the president in the face with his boom mic. Really? I have never in my life seen that happen. If it happened, it was off camera and it was never shown. Certainly not live. Have I ever seen? I mean, President Bush got a shoe thrown at him in a press conference. I mean, overseas. Um, that was pretty wild too. But how? I don't think it was on purpose. It wasn't nefarious. I don't think. President Trump gave him that look and little eye smirk. You know, he has that little thing he does with his eyes and his mouth. He's a very visual, physical, body language kind of guy. I mean, it's not so much what he says a lot of times. It's how he has the smirks and the looks, the raised eye. He really is a master at that. But he gave that guy the evil eye. I mean, he looked at that guy like, you're going to pay for that. That was a stare down. And then he kind of softened it with the little like, so he just rolled with it. But you just don't normally see the president. I mean, those bikes are really powerful. If you've ever been behind one, you don't got to get right up on them anyway. In fact, that's not good to do. You need to be back from them. The gain is cut up so high. You don't need to holler even. You just talk and it's picking you up. But he got carried away. There's always a fight among the camera crew trying to get their microphones and come over the top, and everybody's trying to get the good visual and all that. Usually at a press conference, they make them tie their microphones together on the podium and stay back. But this was kind of an impromptu thing, I believe, and he throwed that in there. But I don't know if he's been identified who it was. I think they just said they saw it and they didn't know who that was. But I've just never seen nothing like that before. And on a presidential level, not just President Trump, but a presidential security level, uh, you can't let that happen. I mean, you've got. I mean, what if that had been? I remember what was it the guy running in Japan, was it the guy that was running and was assassinated? Uh, Dude coming by, pretending to be something. I mean, you got to be careful with that. So um, there is a news article this morning on Newsmax from Mark Swanson that the president is considering a travel ban for a whopping 43 nations. 11 of those would be, and that's a tiered ban. So a three tiers to the ban. 11 of those would be outright from all travel to the United States. Those countries among them would be the obvious actors: Iran, Libya, North Korea, and Venezuela are among those. And I don't think anybody would have a problem with those being listed in a travel ban. I don't want. I mean, I'm sorry. You are a rogue nation. You are making threats against the United States of America all the time. I don't think anybody's going to be doing any business in those nations. Not much. In fact, I think I know with Iran and North Korea, there's absolutely not supposed to be any business. And Venezuela probably is in that. I'm not sure about Libya, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a restriction on it. You got to be careful with business. You can get your company in business if you try to backdoor some business with a country we have sanctions against. and a ban on. So that part of the list is not surprising. But there's another 10 countries on the orange list. I wonder why they picked orange. It's funny because they call him orange hair. It just cracks me up. I know it's level of color. But Russia, Pakistan would be on the sharpest restrictions on the visas. Then there would be a yellow list, and that would require 60 days to address concerns. Uh, the restrictions are being considered are broader than the travel ban Trump implemented in 2017, January of 2017, on the 7 majority Muslim countries, all of which are on the red list this time around, save for Iraq, which was not targeted for any ban or restriction according to this article. The State Department compiled the list of 43 countries several weeks ago, and changes by the White House are likely, uh, they go on to say. So that would be, and this was an article they picked up from the New York Times. So the Times is reporting that. Um, Red countries like Afghanistan, Bhutan, Cuba, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, and Yemen are also included. On the orange list are other countries, including Belarus, who's really itching to get into some war over there, Eritrea, Haiti, Laos, Myanmar, uh, Sierra Leone, South Sudan, and Turkmenistan are on there. The yellow list has Angola, Antigua, Barbuda, Benin, Burkina Faso, which is under some big time Muslim attack right now. We have missionaries friends in the southern part. I think it's the southern part of Burkina Faso. A lot of refugees are streaming into the area, into Burkina Faso, which they have ministries and things set up, and so it's a ministry opportunity as well as a humanitarian. But they have an opportunity there. Also, a lot of Russian infiltration in the areas of Burkina Faso and surrounding areas. Stuff you're not hearing much about. There's been a few articles that I've seen about Burkina Faso in the news, but this area is under attack. Cambodia, Cameroon, Cape Verde, Chad, the Republic of Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Dominica. We've known some people that have. That's interesting that they're on the list. Dominica, um, Equatorial Guinea, Gambia, Liberia, Malawi, Mali, and the list. A lot of islands. A lot of islands. So Zimbabwe. So anyway, uh, again, taking precautions, seeing who's coming in the nation. I don't have a problem with any of that. Those that need an outright ban. And hello, Andrew. Thanks for being in the stream from Thailand. Our friend from Thailand, business owner and hard worker and funny story guy. You crack me up. Glad you're here. I'm not surprised by those bans though, or that tiered system. It makes sense, and we do need to get a handle who's coming in. Some of those would just be getting paperwork cleared so they can come in. A pause, you might say, to ensure security. I have no problem with the outright ban on the other nations. I'm sorry, any nation that is declaring the destruction of the United States of America, we're done with you. you till your regime changes and your rhetoric changes. That's like Hamas. They swear to the complete annihilation of Israel. I mean, come on. That's in their charter. We can't deal with somebody like that. News there: the last American live hostage. I thought they were already out, but apparently they had another one. Is to be released, or is either has been or in process to be released. I saw an article on that. So we will see. And of course, Israel still has hostages there, and there's also some bodies there. Unfortunately, why don't you just turn the bodies over? That's just, you know what? You're already scum anyway, and it just shows how scummy you are. I mean, who wants to keep dead bodies around? The reason they do that is one, to make the family suffer even more, And they know that Israel, like a lot of countries in the region, um, a lot of cultures, I should say, but especially in Judaism, they want to get the body buried within that first 24 hours. That's part of their ritual, their belief, and they work very hard to do that. So it's very quick, and they have the 7 days of mourning, and they still do that, but the body is buried very quickly. So they just do that to be, just say it a butthole. I mean, come on, you just scum anyway. Um, Trump vows another article on Newsmax popped this morning. He vows to expel rogue actors in a political speech at the DOJ. Article by staff. He has a litany of grievances. It says uh, against the cases that he has faced, and he has vowed retribution. What he describes as quote lies and abuses end quote, or excuse me, not end quote, lies and abuses that have occurred within these walls end quote. The speech was meant to rally support for the Trump administration policies on violent crime, drugs, and illegal immigration, but it also functioned as a triumphant forum for the president to boast about having emerged legally and politically unscathed from two federal prosecutions that 1 year ago had threatened to torpedo his presidential prospects, but were dismissed after his election win last fall. If you, I mean, imagine how close we came to honestly total dictatorship in America. It was really close. Illegal streaming in, states wanting to give voting rights to illegals. Some have things in place for that. Pack the court, the Supreme Court, that is. Of course, they wanted to do away, with some of the other election rules and just go by majority. And of course they did. Of course you did. Did you just stay in power forever? And then you eliminate your political opponent. And of course, they wanted to see him in jail. They wanted to totally strip him of all. They wanted to destroy his financial empire and strip him of any ability to run for office. And isn't it wonderful to see that all blow up in their face? It's scary how close it came to actually happening, but it's an absolute thrill to see it blow up in their face. It reminds me of these suicide or homicide terrorists, and they're making the bomb, or they're en route to deliver the bomb somewhere, and it blows up in their face, and the only ones that get injured or killed are them, which is glorious. If you're going to go kill somebody and you get killed, I don't like to see people die, but in that case, it's glorious. You're a demon, and you went to hurt innocent people, and so it reminds me of that. The best laid plans they had, not in a physical way, but it blowed up in their face. And we're not wishing any harm on anybody here. We're just saying that was just the analogy I think of. We use that expression in the South a lot. It just blowed up in my face. Well, that's what happened with that. So, it seems to me, and I may be wrong, but it seems to me that things have slowed down just a little bit in the last few days. Uh, I think, we were running at breakneck speed. It doesn't mean there's not a lot of things that are going on, but it seems as though it has slowed just a little bit in the MAGA realm and around the president. Of course, there's been some legal challenges. Some judges have worked against him and the administration on certain things. And so they're working through that. He's appealed to the Supreme Court. And it seems as though it's not stopped. And it's not running slow, but it seems like it has slowed down. They tapped the brakes just a little bit. And some of that is because there's negotiations going on, not only on the foreign field, although that certainly is happening on a couple of fronts, maybe even three. But I think here in America, too, there's things we can't see that are being, and the budget, the temporary budget, it seemed to have slowed down. They didn't have time to talk about a lot of other things uh, that have been going on. They couldn't take action. In other words, uh, whether he is intent or not on Greenland, it's funny that there still continues to be news coming out of Greenland about a potential takeover of them to be another state or territory. All five parties in Greenland's parliament issued a joint statement on Friday rejecting President Donald Trump's latest effort to take control of the strategic Arctic island. Not to say he's not serious. I just say I don't know how intent he thought that could really happen. But I do believe he believes this, and listening to the Joint Chiefs and others about threats that are ongoing from China, Russia, whatever, that especially China, there is a feeling of solidifying one, getting the military straightened out, uh, building it back up, and being prepared, and that will include having places around the world that are strategic. Because when you have to get somewhere, the the biggest problem you have is when you are fighting. You always want to fight away from home. Nobody wants to fight at home. That's horrible. But it is logistics. It is transportation of people, materials, and the fuel and refuel and staging areas, and just being ready to go. Especially an area like that would be an Air Force dream base to have and to use as Arctic Command. But they are rejecting that, and so we'll see what happens. They go on to say, we, all party chairmen, cannot accept the repeated statements on annexation and control of Greenland. We, as party chairman, find this conduct unacceptable to friends and allies in a defense alliance. Greenland is a self-governing region of Denmark, a NATO ally of the United States. Well, I can tell you that even if we don't do that, there'll be more probably done there militarily, because we already have that in there, and I just think there'll be an expansion of that as things heat up. I hope no war comes, but you'll probably see an expansion. In fact, they go on to say that here, that there will be an expansion of that. Um, our country will quote, our country will never be the USA, and we Greenlanders will never be Americans. Was said on Facebook. Greenland is one country. We are united. Well, we're united too. We're the United States of America. I'm a Georgian, but I'm a part of America. They could be Greenlanders and still be a part of America. Oh, and Canadians. Let's not forget about Canada. We'll talk about that in a minute too. Uh, just a little bit. Let's see here. Interesting that the Voice of America is ending contracts with the Associated Press, Reuters, and the APF. Interesting that they're dropping that. So they have told its journalists Friday to stop using material from the wire services. Huh. Pretty big right there, especially uh, the Associated Press and Reuters. I don't know how big the French part of that is, but that's a pretty big deal. So uh, getting getting good news, getting solid news, um, and so further just making sure that they're not sending out the wrong kind of material. Carrie Lake, former broadcaster turned Republican politician who was selected by President Trump to run VOA, estimated the move would save, now get this, $53 million. I would be glad to be a correspondent, a commentator, an opinion piece. They would never pick me, but $53 million. That's pretty big. And you know what? I concur too, because the AP is notoriously has been an agency that has manipulated stories. And you want evidence of that? Go look at the story they did over in Israel many years ago with a soldier supposedly shooting at a little boy, and the camera angles and stuff that they used. Horrible, absolutely horrible. Um, I'm not. I've read some articles there that to me that seem to be okay, but if you're just cutting costs from that standpoint alone, you can get the news without having to pay those jacklegs uh, that kind of money. So nice, nice. I like that. There's all kinds of news out there, and it's instantaneous, and that does seem a little excessive, I would say, and that would be nice to say. Uh, she goes on to say, Carrie Lake, that is, that quote, we should not be paying outside news organizations to tell us what the news is, end quote. With a nearly $1 billion budget, that's incredible. We should be producing news ourselves. And if that's not possible, the American taxpayer should demand to know why. Absolutely. I applaud that. That's good MAGA news right there. In a meeting on Friday, Voice of America staffers were told to stop using the wire services for their reports. Um, Many organizations, audio, video, and text reports from wire services are used as supplement, and it's true. Newsmax we saw that earlier. They were pulling news from another American source, and that happens. A lot of your local TV does that. Ta-da. So we'll see. Some will, I'm sure, attack this and saying they're trying to cancel news, but I've never had much use for those news orgs anyway. So um, ongoing, just working down the list here. Let's look at a few things and see what we've got going on here. A horrible story on the New York Post about a house of horrors in Connecticut, I believe that is. Victim is rescued after lightning. Let's see. Lightning fire to after lighting fire to escape stepmom who held him captive for decades. Oh my gosh! Wow. It's one of those just it's like a creepy horror movie, and you hate to think that's going on, but it goes on somewhere. It's going on somewhere right now. They haven't found all these kind of people. There's body cam footage of them going in. It's a daring rescue. Abused man held captive by his wicked stepmother for 20 years as she stood and yelled at first responders outside the burning house. And she looks like a real piece of work, let me tell you. Oh my goodness. She blamed the late husband for abuse. So, good grief. What a horrible, horrible story. She was stepmom, Kimberly Sullivan. Um, she's 56 years old and was incoherently shouting as she stood feet away from her burning home as one firefighter attempted to get her to safety. Um, she said, my stepson is in here. I'm trying to get them to get him out. A firefighter carried the 32-year-old who only weighed, my God, 68 pounds. 68 pounds at the time out of the burning residence as Sullivan was guided down the road. Can you imagine? And there was also a dog. I think they were trying to get the dog. But you just wouldn't think that in this day and time, with just it just seems to be harder to do. But I guess not. You never know. You never know what goes on behind the closed door. Good grief, 68 pounds. Wow, he's blessed to be alive. Honestly, I know that's not a MAGA story, but it is a horrible story, and that's just horrible right there. That's awful. I hate that. Steve from Half Pine Forge, he was bringing up the one from the movie the other day. It's just you worry about some of the stuff that people do. Marco Rubio, has something to say about more unwelcome people. He says that South Africa's ambassador is no longer welcomed in the U.S. Uh, he goes on to say on a post on the social network X, he accused Ibrahim Rasul of being a race baiting politician who hates President Donald Trump and declared him persona non grata. He didn't give further reasoning. The State Department did not have additional details. It was unclear whether the ambassador was even in the U.S. at the time the decision was made. He posted he was flying back to Washington from a group of 7 foreign ministers in Quebec. Breitbart has offered more insight on the action. He, as this Rasul, told participants in a foreign policy seminar Friday that U.S. President Donald Trump is leading a white supremacist movement in America and around the world. Well, good for you, Mr. Rubio. Kick this jackleg out. We don't need him here. And it isn't it ironic that you have South Africa accusing our president of white supremacist actions? Well, I find that hypocrisy in the highest sense. Wow. And then there's a lot of problems going on in South Africa still. He was addressing an Institute for Strategic Reflection, Mapu Wabe. I didn't say that. Mapun Gabwe. Institute for Strategic Reflection, MISTRA, they call that, in Johannesburg. He attempted to explain Trump's recent foreign policy stances against South Africa's property export. Well, we know what's going on. Just say property stealing, and its alliances with Iran and Hamas. That's when he said that. So he disrespected our president. So they were mad that he cut aid to the South African government, and you know, there's a lot of bad things going on there right now, controversial things. So interesting. See you, buddy. You can run your mouth where you're at, but that doesn't mean you get to come back into our nation. And I think that's a positive. Uh, I feared I didn't feel like the peace would come quickly, like overnight, in between Ukraine and Russia. I think we can get there, but we can see that there's activities on both sides. Right before the talks, Ukraine sends all these missiles in. Russians are demanding. Um, there was many Russians demanding retaliatory strikes, and Putin's demands included way too much, and that's what happens with the negotiations like that. Um, the New York Times, or excuse me, the Washington Post, um, is saying that intel shows that Putin is not interested in peace. They believe he has little interest in ending the war and remains determined to dominate his Western neighbor. Classified U.S. intelligence reports, as recently as earlier this month, said Putin continues to focus on his maximalist goal of bringing Ukraine into Russia's security and economic orbit, despite President Trump's attempts to end the war through negotiations. Quote, he has a long-standing desire to restore, quote, Mother Russia. I wouldn't disagree with that. I still think we can get there if pressure's put on enough. But he has spoke on that a lot. I don't think that's not new territory. Somebody got lazy and wrote an article of all we've known. He said as much with Tucker when he was there. He's very versed in the history, and he wants to bring some of those areas back, at least some of them, back up under the Russian. I don't know if you'd say border or kind of under that umbrella. He sure wants that. The Kremlin said Friday that Putin had sent Trump a message about his proposal for a ceasefire in Ukraine via Trump's special envoy, and that there were grounds for cautious optimism. Putin said Thursday he agreed in principle with the U.S. proposal for a 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine, but the terms needed to be worked out. And he emphasized that it should pave the way for lasting peace. Well, duh. Some current and former U.S. officials, however, say Putin would use a temporary truce to re-energize his forces and then resume fighting by blaming Ukraine for Moscow initiated provocation. Um, Eugene Rummer, a Russian expert at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, says, quote, I don't believe a ceasefire, even a truce or a treaty, will be an end to the story, end quote. He goes on to say, quote, this is the new permanent standoff between Russia and the rest of Europe, end quote. But you know what? Zelensky is not falling all over himself trying to get peace either. I mean, he is throwing things uh, at at this thing very quickly as well. So um, it's going to take a lot of work to get there, and I do believe there'll have to be a pretty sizable no man's land, a DMZ of some kind. I'm not saying UN, but I think you're gonna have, or it would be too easy to reinitiate the war. There's going to have to be some sort of territory that is just a no man's land. Nobody moves in there but animals, or a flag of truce where they transfer uh, prisoners, injured, and maybe even trade. There could be an agreement made that some things can pass back and forth under a lot of supervision. It could be something like that. I don't think that at any unless we're just going to World War III, Russia's not giving back any of this land, and nothing has convinced me so far that Zelensky, even with all the help he's been given, has the ability to push Russia back. In fact, they have fallen back the whole time. The only push that Ukraine has made is into the Kursk region of Russia, and they're losing there badly, and may lose the whole deal. And that was their bargaining chip to get Russia to give up more land back to them anyway. It's not happening. So you can keep throwing weapons at him. He has no air force. Yeah, they try to teach some of their pilots or make pilots out of some of them, and some older aircraft. Come on, they're not going to beat the MiGs and stuff flying. Those guys are well trained, long time. We could give them some surface to air capability, but come on, they're not going to control the airs. And the only way you're going to get that back is to have foreign uh, countries that are in base there that are helping to control those skies. And then you truly are talking about World War III. That's not going to happen. It has gotten quieter in here. The rain has stopped. Praise the Lord. We needed some rain, but that earlier was incredibly hard. So maybe the storm has passed over for now. I don't think it's ended, but I think it's passed over. But yeah, I don't think that there's going to be any kind. I don't think it's going to be quick. And I know the president says a lot of stuff. I would have had that war ended in 24 hours. I take those things with a grain of salt. Those are just metaphors to say very quickly. I don't think he really means that like he says it, but he does say it. You're not doing that overnight. This thing it's went on too far. It involves. I mean, this is a long ongoing, and it's going to be hard for both sides to back off because you got to save face and what's your end game. What is it that you want out of it? For Zelensky, he says he wants all the land returned, including Crimea, and not going to happen. Not going to happen. I mean, who's going to make Russia give that up without all of us going to war with them? And again, we're talking about World War III. Most likely, if he gets ganged up on, he's going to unleash more and more. And given Zelensky's military, although they fought valiantly, it's a defensive battle. It's not an offensive battle. Come on, they fired some drones and stuff into Russia, did a little bit of damage. That's that's not going to do it. It will. All that is to scare the populace and to, you would hope, divert, but they don't even divert. They just clean up and go on and strike back heavier. It's not an effective wartime strategy. Now, Russia uses it just to destroy and bombard and to break your will, but Zelensky doesn't have the power, the resources to continue an aerial assault on Russia. A lot of those get shot down anyway. You have a handful that get through, minimal damage, a small loss of life. All it does is tick them off and make them mad. It's not working. They don't have the ability to push Russia back. Russia knows this, and Russia has more that they could send. If anybody believes that Russia has thrown everything they have at Ukraine, they're I shouldn't say it, but they're idiots. And I'm not even talking about nuclear weapons. Have we seen bombers flying over Ukraine, dropping massive amounts of bombs on these cities and annihilating them? No. Um, and in fact, Western Ukraine, west of the Dnieper River, has gone largely unscathed. A few rocket attacks into a couple of cities over there. Most of the damage, in fact, almost all of it, is east of the Dnieper River. And so you don't see that. If Russia was going to take over the whole country, Belarus would have certainly been in play, and he would have been invading with massive amounts of military from that direction as well as the air, and much stronger bombs and missiles would have been in play. The heavy stuff, the really heavy stuff, not where you're knocking out a few rooms of a hotel, uh, where the whole building just collapses. They could have. Kiev would be rubble right now if they had unleashed everything they have. So again, ugly as it is, nobody likes it. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that they came into Ukraine. But how do you push them back without World War III? I don't think you can. And so you push for negotiation to peace. I think the president can get there, but Putin is going to play this to get things he wants. And I think he's already fairly much got what he wants in this. Now he's just it's just solidifying that. He's got to get those out of his country too. And I mean, it's it's I mean, I know he don't like that, but um, in some ways that might be to his advantage because he has them outside of they're almost surrounded anyway. If they surround them, they'll just wear them down, and they'll run out of supplies, and they'll just surrender or die. And that's what they're working on. If you haven't seen the video of the Russians going through the pipe to flank the Ukrainians in Kursk, that's fascinating. Um, 15, little over 15 kilometers. That's the way they measure over there. A little over 15 kilometers that they walked hunched over to this pipe that was hard to breathe in. A battalion of men, and got into position to hit the Ukrainians from another side. Did a lot of damage too. A lot of damage. Um, let me get one more thing here. We'll take a quick break. Uh, Canada. Okay, we'll get that after the break. But Trump is open to cutting Medicaid abuse. He wants to cut waste, fraud, abuse, and Medicaid. While Democrats stress that Trump had said Medicaid benefits won't be touched, the president apparently believes ridding the system of abuse is a good thing. I would think we all think that. They're going to make it sound like he's trying to cut out Medicaid, but there is abuse. And there's people went to jail for abuse already. Um, Majority Leader John Thune, Republican South Dakota, was in this meeting on this committee, and Republican Whip John Barrasso, Republican Wyoming, and members of this is the Finance Committee. Quote, the president wants to make sure that we do eliminate waste, fraud, abuse, and there are a number of scams. There's that word. That's been hurtful in my family here lately. Scams going on right now with Medicaid, Barrasso told Axios. Finding Medicaid fraud was raised as a way to help pay for Trump's priorities on the southern border defense and taxes, Axios reported. Wasteful spending in Medicare and Social Security also was mentioned, though the latter can't be addressed through the reconciliation process. Reconciliation allows for expedited consideration of certain fiscal legislation. The group also talked about using a big rescission package to codify the Department of Government Efficiency DOJ suggested cuts. So we'll see where that comes back. Just more communication about what's going on some of these things. So the rogue judges, that's being talked about this weekend. The liberal rogue judges that are throwing up roadblocks to things that the administration and or DOJ is trying to do. That's um, that's also ongoing, and there's frustration that these judges and in some cases, as I said in the beginning, President Trump has appealed or is pushing these issues onto the Supreme Court to let SCOTUS decide what they're going to do with that. So we will see on that front what happens. But it used to always be the Ninth Circuit in California. That used to be the one that always throwed up the roadblocks. But it seems to be around the country now. President Obama spent a lot of time putting a lot of federal judges in those seats that were thinking their way. So we will see what happens with that. But I don't think it's what do you do while they're sitting in that seat of power. It's going to be really hard to unless the Supreme Court overrules them. That's going to take some time, so that's going to slow things down in some ways. We come back, we're going to look at Canada a little bit, and we'll look at Hamas. Not surprising. They're balking at peace, and what's going to happen with the Gazans? There is maybe a plan in place. People are not going to like it, but I think it's the only thing you can do right now, or somewhere, because others have acted as though as they don't want to do anything. So I don't know. I mean, that's just one of those wait and see kind of things. So we'll be right back, folks. Thanks for being here. Southern Fried Mag on a Saturday morning, a stormy Saturday morning. Thanks for your support of the Southern Fried Podcast and the Cornbread Nation. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, Dave in the AM here with the Southern Fried Podcast and the Cornbread Nation. For many weeks now, me and Rob have been telling you about our affiliation with Dubby Energy Drinks. I've been drinking some of them on the show, and I just got in today the powdered version, and this is the Pond Blom version of this. And hey, I tell you that it gives you the focus and the energy without the jitters or the crash. There's no sugars, no fillers, no artificial dyes. So get you some Dubby today. Use the promo code Southern Fried, and you'll get 10% off each and every order. Not only can you get the energy drinks, but you can also get some cool merch items. In fact, soon we're going to have a hat to show you as an example of some of those things. There's shirts and other things you can get as well as containers to mix up the powder and the water into that you can carry with you. We appreciate your support of the Southern Fried Podcast and also of Dubby Energy Drinks. We'll see you again soon. Take care. This is David the AM with the Southern Fried Podcast. We are now an affiliate of Podbean. Podbean is an audio platform which helps you get your voice out there. You can go online and go live from your very phone that you use. You don't have to have a lot of special equipment. It's nice to have a studio, but it's expensive. You can do those things from your phone. Hey, I was a listener of Podbean before I even became a podcaster. Maybe you've thought about being one. There was a time when I didn't think about being a podcaster, but think about it. You've got things to share. It could be as simple as baking, or it could be working on a car. The stories are endless that you could come up with to be a podcaster. And there are people out there that want to listen and to your stories and to your shows. And we're thankful for all those that watch and listen to us. Podbean is now an affiliate of the Southern Fried Podcast. Unless you're a business plan, that would be the bottom one. The one on top, use that. You'll get discounts. And also the Southern Fried Podcast benefits in this as well. I love Podbean. They also help launch out to many other audio sites. This saves me time. Time is precious. Time to be on the podcast, time for research, time to be with family, and yes, time to work. Yes, we still work out there in the workforce. So become a podcaster. Use Podbean. And when you use these links, one of them, you will save money and you'll also help the Southern Fried Podcast. Thanks so much for all your support. Take care. We'll see you soon.
While you still can, don't even try to understand. Just find a place to make your stand and take it easy.
Yeah, we're back. Southern Fried MAGA. I'm your host, Dave, in the AM. My co-host, I have a couple of co-hosts. My main co-host is Rob, who doesn't do this program with me. He's always welcome to come in. You may see him sometime. He has done some with me. And my new co-host is Dean Potts on the Southern Fried Racing Hour. That might expand a little bit. That hour went by so fast. We have so much we want to cover. And we're fixing to really pour a lot of stuff into that, graphics-wise and stuff like that. NASCAR's fun if you like racing. We might talk a little Indy too, but we're NASCAR fans. And that will air either on Tuesdays or Thursdays. We'll announce that ahead of time. It'll be up in the schedule. And he loves it. It's the first time he's ever been in a podcast. It's his second show, first time live, and he loved it. We appreciate his family that is now listening in and also listening to some other programming we've seen there. And we appreciate that. If you're watching from whatever you're watching from, whether it's, oh Lord, there's several things, and some of these are recorded and pushed onto other platforms that we don't go live to because we're not allowed to. We would, but if you're in Instagram or Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, oh Lord, X, Twitch, Kick, Rumble Studio, whatever, give us a like and a follow, whatever the case may be. Even locals we're now streaming to for 30 minutes at the beginning of every program. And there may be one or two on the way that we're trying to. Some we put clips on. Smaller clips of some of our programs or the address to, so some of you may see this later as a repeat, or as you followed it to one of these sites. So give us a follow. We're growing every day. We are now, I think we're right at 40,000 total followers. Not that all 40,000 are listening all the time, but they are followers, and we appreciate you. And we appreciate you giving us some of your time. As I say in one of the commercials, time is precious. Time is precious. We appreciate Podbean, our audio site, which helps us send a lot of audio MP3 files to other audio sites. We're on a number of audio streams. We're still working it out. I've messed up a little bit with Podbean. We're trying to figure out how we can't stream directly into it from our other stream, but we do have it up and we stream to it. When I have co-host, have to make sure Rob is in there, and we have to run our music within the Podbean platform. We just clicked into Podbean that every YouTube that goes, everything that goes up YouTube, which is everything, it will grab that and send that out as well. So it'll stop us from having to upload anything. If it's a live program, it may end up being a couple of them out there pushed out. That's okay. It's not going to hurt anything. But it will now grab everything from YouTube and push it out to the rest of that. We have one audio site that's not included, maybe two, that we push up to outside of that. Next week, as I said, if I can get everything, I'm going to try to spend tomorrow afternoon. I've got to work this afternoon, but tomorrow in between church, I'm going to try to get everything to our web person who is making our website. We, by the way, FYN Media Group, Fetch Your News, that stands for. I didn't know that. Miss Lisa Pritchard, and I love Brian, her husband, Voice of Rural America. Voice of Rural America. I'm going to get a card made up for them. They're in Blue Ridge, Georgia. We appreciate them. And I love the political commentary and the comedy and the music. Me and him are pretty close in our musical likes. But their FYN Media is building that for us. We want to give them a plug, and hoping to have an embeddable player that will play our programs 24/7 when we're not live. But all the links to everything we do will be there, including our store, including our affiliates, W Mammoth Nation, and now Patriot Mobile. And I'm excited about getting going. Things are fixing to explode here. A lot of the work that whenever you're building something, it takes a little while, right? It takes a little while, and the hard work doesn't stop. You continue, but you can start to see that the hard work is paying off in ways that you want. And we've seen that, and we're seeing that. We're excited about it, and it will allow us to do more and better things in what we do. Some of you may only like one thing we do. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Somebody may not like anything we do. Some of you have been nice enough to show us love in everything we do, or just about everything, and we can't say thank you enough. Let's see. Let's see. I like. She named me Dale, Daryl, Walter, Richard Petty, Rusty, Awesome Bill, Irvin, Gordon, Earnhardt, Smith, Johnson Jr. Well, you know what, NC Native, just about all of your NASCAR teams reside or have resided in the great state of North Carolina. And that's not the case anymore. Sometimes they do come from other places, but it's still heavily North Carolina. I enjoy NASCAR. It's been times it's made me mad. I think every NASCAR fan can say that. And it's not as quite as southern as it used to be. It's still southern, but it's branched out. It's a lot of California. It's a lot of California drivers. A lot of, but remember, southern is a state of mind too. So a lot of Michigan people and up in the Northeast folks are now part of NASCAR. But you know what? Hey, it's for anybody. But I will say that I do miss the Southern 500 at Darlington. And they made all these rule changes and stuff, and they really took, to me, of course they changed names. They took the Southern out of it, and unforgivable. I mean, come on, just killed the party. Don't want anything to do with that. Uh, I know some people hate it. They just say it's a bunch of guys running around in a circle, and it's boring. But if you really get into what is truly going on there, it's a drama to it. I get it. And road courses are not going in a circle. So, um, uh, Spartan sort of course says, I love Formula One, but I don't really watch any sports. And I get that. Some people are just not sports fans. We didn't start sports right away, but we did cover college and pro football. We're going to do that even more next year. We were just getting our feet wet, and plus we were building so much up, and it was trying to find the spot for it. I didn't have a co-host most of the time, but we're going to do better at that this coming season. And I'm so excited that Dean has come on as a co-host for the NASCAR, and he is a tremendous fan and is super uber duper. I know that it's not proper English, but I don't care. Fan, and it makes it fun for me. And we have good chemistry. It's a good working relationship, and we've known each other for some time. And we'll grow this thing. There's things I'm getting caught up on as well. He is working hard, taking notes, coming prepared with his show prep, and he's feathery. He's got, that's what happens. Your brain, you can't shut it off. If you've done anything like that, a podcast or some sort of thing that you do, you're really passionate about it. You can't turn your brain off. And there's times at night my brain is just firing on all these cylinders, and I have to tell myself to go to sleep. And I wake up in the middle of the night, and I will be working different portions of the podcast. But it's just the way it is, and there's nothing I can do about that. It's just the way my brain works. So anyway, looking at Witkoff has warned. He is the special envoy of the National Security Council. He issued a warning to Hamas. This article came out yesterday. It's by Charlie McCarthy. Interesting name. Going back in history. He issued a warning to Hamas that time is not on the terrorist side and that the administration, quote, will respond accordingly, end quote, if an extended ceasefire deal is not accepted and this American Ethan Alexander is not released immediately. Hamas on Friday said it had accepted a proposal from mediators to release U.S. Israeli hostage Alexander and the bodies of 4 dual nationals who had died in captivity. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office cast doubt on the offer, accusing Hamas of trying to manipulate talks underway in Qatar on the next stage of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. On Wednesday evening, Doha, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and NSC Senior Director for the Middle East and North Africa, Eric Traeger, presented a, quote, bridge proposal to extend the ceasefire beyond Ramadan and Passover, allow time to negotiate a framework for a permanent ceasefire. Despite Hamas's claim that they had accepted the proposal, no action has been seen. Quote, President Trump has made it clear that Hamas will either release hostages immediately or will pay a severe price, said the statement, which was sent to news organizations, including Newsmax. Unfortunately, Hamas has chosen to respond by publicly claiming flexibility while privately making demands that are entirely impractical without a permanent ceasefire. Again, another front that the president's dealing in that is not easy. It's not easy at all. I know, Spartan. I get it. There's a lot of nefarious things are going on in this back and forth on both sides. There is also, and it's controversial, um, and there's another article that came out yesterday about the Palestinians in Gaza. And again, me and Rob, we had a pretty heated disagreement about U.S. involvement in the area. I have great concerns about how far we're getting entrenched into this deal. Um, and he saw it completely different. That's fine. I'm not criticizing him on here. We do not always agree, and that's makes for great TV, radio, and yes, podcast. It is not good that we agree 100% on things, although we try not to become heated in our opposition of that. Sometimes we do, and it has been seen. Those are real things. We're not making that up. We're passionate about how we feel. We try not to let that become personal. We talk about those things after a program, if not that evening, the next morning. Um, and we work out the disagreement on it. The last time Robert didn't believe that we had any common ground on it, although I reminded him that we did. We did have some common ground. And he agreed. So it was just, you get caught up in the moment. And we both have intense feelings about this. Mine are just a little different than his. That doesn't mean I'm right and he's wrong. It just means that we're different. I have a concern about how far we're getting entrenched into this deal. History tells us it's a black hole that will not yield great benefit. However, to be a leader, a true leader of peace, and a leader, sometimes you have to do things that go against the grain, even traditional ideas or things that, tried new things, we might say, or even go back to things that didn't work before, but maybe the timing is better now. And I get that. To be a leader, you have to make those decisions. President Trump will have to make those decisions. But all I said is use extreme caution. It concerns me. This one here is, again, it is controversial. It said that the U.S. and Israel have reached out to officials. Now, this is a dual thing. It didn't say what we were arguing about was U.S.'s support for U.S. support for Israel. But where does that support start? Where does it end? And that's that pendulum. Are we boots on the ground, or are we just offering help, assistance? Anyway, they've reached out to officials of 3 East African governments to discuss using their territories as potential destinations for resettling Palestinians uprooted from the Gaza Strip under President Donald Trump's proposed post-war plan, American and Israeli officials say. The contacts with Sudan, Somalia, and the breakaway region of Somalia known as Somaliland reflect the determination by the U.S. and Israel to press ahead with a plan that has been widely condemned and raised serious legal and moral issues because all 3 places are poor and in some cases racked by violence. The proposal also casts doubts on Trump's stated goal of resettling Gaza's Palestinians in a, quote, beautiful area, end quote. Officials from Sudan said they have rejected overtures from the U.S., while officials from Somalia and Somaliland told the AP they were not aware of any contacts. Under Trump's plan, and the rain returns if you hear it, Gaza's more than 2 million people would be permanently sent elsewhere. He has proposed the U.S. would take ownership of the territory, oversee a lengthy cleanup process, and develop it as a real estate project. I got to be honest here. This is a disaster waiting to happen. I don't back up on what I said. I don't want us to have anything to do with that piece of ground. And I see this as being, I'll just say it, a hellhole for us. It does. I know he's trying to bring peace to the Middle East. That's not going to do it. I'm just going to say it. And people could be mad at me for saying that. let's get America fixed. Wow. I just, I don't even like what this sounds like. But I get the fact they got to go somewhere, but you got to go. I mean, come on. What is this, Jonestown? We're going to take them to Africa? You can't do that. You just can't do it. They would, it's right, it would be permanent. They would be coming back. The Arab nations need to bring them in and give them a home. And then somehow you're going to figure out what to do with this area. But it's largely destroyed. I mean, honestly, it is. Um, a real estate project? What the heck? Come live. Okay, we've got some high-rise apartments. They're cutting edge, state of the art. They look over the Mediterranean, and it's great. You got beach access. You can sun, vacation spots for the rich and famous. Oh, the occasional missile from Hezbollah might come in. I just don't think. Uh, I don't like it. Listen, Spartan. I understand. I give you the I never tell anybody how to think. I don't like. We disagree, and we disagree on a lot of fronts. We agree on some stuff. The quote about Henry Ford, nada. That's your opinion. I'm not going to tell you how to think. I've studied that one a lot, and I know exactly what Henry Ford was. I went back and read the old Dearborn Gazette issues as well, and it cost him being president of the United States. And I know you'd have thoughts about that, so we're not going to agree on that. But I think we do agree that it's a mess over there right now. Um, I do not. It's a hellhole. NC Native. We don't need any more opportunities to get the U.S. involved in Middle East conflicts. I agree. Get the heck out of there. You know what? Just get the heck out of there. Rob was saying, well, they're our ally. We got to support them. We don't have to support them in war. If they initiate war or something, we supply them, resources or money or whatever. We don't have to get directly involved. This is like and I see it as more taking the lead. This partnership. Anyway, wow. The idea of a mass transfer of Palestinians was once considered a fantasy of Israel's ultra-nationalist fringe. But since Trump presented the idea at a White House meeting last month, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has hailed it as a bold vision. Palestinians in Gaza have rejected the proposal and dismissed Israeli claims that the departures would be voluntary. Arab nations have expressed vehement opposition and offered an alternative reconstruction plan that would leave the Palestinians in place. Rights groups have said forcing or pressuring the Palestinians to leave could be a potential war crime. Still, the White House says Trump stands by his vision. Speaking on condition of anonymity to discuss a secret diplomatic initiative, U.S. and Israeli officials confirmed the contacts with Somalia and Somaliland, while the Americans confirmed Sudan as well. They said it was unclear how much progress the efforts made or what level the discussions took place. And there's a little bit more there about financial, diplomatic, security. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I don't know. I'm this article is depressing to me. I just don't want our boys and girls on boots on the ground in the middle of this thing. I just think this thing's going to blow up in our face. I love the president. I support him. Don't hear me wrong. I'm a MAGA man. MAGA man. But he's human too. And some things may be a bridge too far. We'll just say it that way, a bridge too far. There's no way these people are ever going to agree on the U.S. having control of that as a real estate development. There's no way they're going to allow Israel to control it without a heck of a lot of war that will be ongoing. And we will get, what'll happen is, and NC, I think you kind of alluded to it in comments as you and Spartan are having comments there, and I appreciate y'all doing that. That's what it's for, this discussion. But what happens if the next administration is not MAGA? Well, you know what's going to happen. It'll flip. And then whoever, they're going to be left holding the bag, and we'll create a mess. It's just amazing. Of all the plans I've ever heard, this is the most outlandish. And honestly, who, God almighty, who would send their people or anybody's people to freaking Somalia and Somaliland and Sudan? No offense to anybody. Those places have been hellholes for war, terrorism. They're worse than they're worse than Gaza in many cases. Who in the world would send them? Now I get it if you hate the Palestinians, and well, that's a good plan. Let's move them out of there. Let's take it over. They're terrorists and da da da. But you're just going to invite more war. And as I asked Rob the question that night, are you ready for holy war? And he said, we're already in a holy war. Well, we are in the spiritual sense. We are. But I'm talking about a declared intifada that not only includes Israel, but the United States. My God. I mean, a real estate development in Gaza? Wow. Wow. I mean, we saw what happened. I know you want to move them all out. We couldn't even deliver goods there. But the destruction is bad. And there are people on both sides of this. Some would say, well, it's Hamas's fault. And others will say Israel was heavy handed in dropping buildings everywhere. They didn't have to do it that much. And yeah, there is charges and I'm not a big fan of the ISS, International Criminal Court, ICC. I said ISS, that's phase, sorry. There is a feeling that after Benjamin Netanyahu, leaves office, well, in fact, I think they've already charged him with some crimes. They're going to try to charge him with war crimes on an international level. Now, they'll not be able to get him, but but that's the charge. Israel and America never joined, and I think one other nation, because of changes that were made in the ICC when they formed it, and at the last minute they changed terminologies and messages. I have no use for them. Yes, they have put a few dictators on trial and charged them and sentenced them, but there's problems with that court, big time, global problems. If you've read a lot about it and really gotten into that, but I mean, it's like we're going to relocate you. We've got to redo this area, and we're going to move you out of the state of Georgia. We're going to take you to a place called hell, and you're going to live there. Forever. I mean, that's what that seems like to me. So I get it, and I will agree to you on this point, Spartan. That lobby is very strong in America, and it has a great influence on American policy. It does. Now, some would say it needs to be more. Some would say we have failed in support there in decades ago, and I would agree. Decades ago, especially during World War II, there was a lot of failure there. But there is a huge amount of money and influence that goes there. But it goes extreme. It goes all the way one way or the other way. It's not balanced sometimes, and I think that's been a challenge. And there are Jewish people in this country, America, I'm speaking of, that do not like Israel. They don't like the Zionist movement at all, and they protest against Zionism and Israel in the streets of American cities. Particularly New York is one that happens a lot. You can choose whatever side you want to be on. I'm not here to tell you how to think. If you hate Israel, so be it. If you love Israel, so be it. If it's you like the people, and I love the people. I love all people. I love Palestinians. I love anybody as a Christian, or you support one or the other in this war or whatever, but you don't like what the government does sometimes. I think I would find myself in that role. I don't like government. I don't like a lot of things governments do, but I do support Jewish people. And I do support all people. I don't want anybody to be living in a hellhole. I don't. I would hope that we could find peace I feel for people, families trying to live and raise their families when bombs are falling and children playing with can't play in areas because of landmines in the ground. I don't know who would cheer that kind of thing on. That's an interesting thought, and one that I've heard NC talked about uh, before, and that's certainly something maybe we talk about one night. I don't probably won't have time in the rest of this show, but that isn't interesting because if you are divided, it's kind of like you're a member of this basketball team, but when it comes time to on the world stage, you go over and play for the home team over here. It's like, and so there could be that blindness that comes from having dual citizenship if you're in Congress. So that's an interesting thought right there. But I will agree with you, Spartan, that I don't want the U.S. supporting, let's just take it this way, for lack of a better word, the carpet bombing of any nation into submission. Um, and that's what I said about Kyiv. If Russia wanted to do that, they could have done that. Uh, I just think this thing got heavy. There was anger, and there are still questions to be asked. I will say that. Quick sick. Well, we're kind of all over the place. We're talking uh, our administration, and we're talking about wars in Ukraine and also in Israel, and things on the home front here. Hope you're doing well today from India. Uh, but going back to what I was saying, is that the October 7th, how did the security lack so bad? Now, some would say this was encouraged to bring this to where we're at today. And Spartan, you're probably one of them that believes that, probably even more so than I do. And Israelis themselves want answers because they've never answered to this day why it was so easy for them to get over the border and to do what they did and the length of time that it took them to do it. And where was the defense people? Now, was it arranged? Was it allowed to happen? Was it just um, the incapability of someone to do their job, to plan? I don't know. I don't have those answers, but it's that's not good. Doing good, quick sick. It's been a tough week for me. Tomorrow starts a new week. This was about the worst week of my life, to be honest. But at the same time, it had a lot of great things with it. So pray for me. It has been a tremendously difficult week, starting on Monday evening, rolling into Tuesday. Those 2 days were the most difficult. Um, it's just like one thing, and really all the way into Thursday. There were just things that happened every day that were very difficult. Some of them were dominoes from the day before. We're okay. Uh, I don't mind sharing. I mean, it's public knowledge if you were to look. I have a son who got in some trouble, and it is heartbreaking if you're a parent. And it's not the first time. I love my son. Let me be clear for those that may be watching that know me. I love my son. I'm not here to air his heart. Things are going on with him on the air, but I don't think there's because I'm in that sense. Somebody wants to know, they can ask him. But I don't think there's anything wrong with a dad asking for prayer for his family and for us. And we certainly would desire that. My wife has some health issues she's dealing with. I broke a tooth. I can't get into the dentist till Tuesday. All happened within one, the trouble, the tooth, the make it hard podcast. I'm trying not to look like I'm, backwood and barefoot and no teeth, but I do have a tooth that's out. So I know you don't want to see that, so I'm trying not to. But it's life. It happens. We're okay. There's people in a lot worse shape than we are. There's also a couple other things that have happened along the way that it just made it a bad, bad week. Now, it was not in the sense that anybody passed away, but it's extremely difficult. And so, just being honest, I'm a transparent guy. So yeah. Spartan says 15,000 or more children have been murdered by Israel in Gaza. There is a tremendous loss of life in Gaza. And yes, I will agree with that statement that they were killed by Israel with the bombs that dropped and because there were, I mean, that's what happened. But Hamas has to take um, some of that blame too because of what happened. However, that came about, it can't just be from one side. I'm not saying that they dropped the buildings, but they kept firing back. There was a way to not have that. So, um, but there has been times that Israel has went heavy, and what I mean by that, they battle rattle, you know, and there has been others. There have been journalists that have been killed as well in those areas. So, um, again, I'm not an expert on either side. I've studied it from afar. There is definitely hatred. It's an old hate, and it's unfortunate for citizens on both sides. Let's be fair. Israeli citizens have died, and they've died brutally, and those people are scum. Anyone who is just taking out people and murdering them, I agree, they're scum. If you're just you know if that has occurred, that they're double tapping children in the head, that's scum. I mean, I have no use for that. We have prosecuted American soldiers who started doing that overseas in Afghanistan and Iraq. There has been a handful of soldiers that we know that went rogue and just started killing everybody, whether they just snapped or whether they were tired of seeing their buddies blown up, and so or they were just bad people. I don't know. There has been that accusation of American forces before in the field of battle in recent years. And some of those soldiers have been prosecuted for their actions. So, and other soldiers have testified what they saw and they tried to stop them. Again, that's not being anti military, it's just saying that people got out of control. And that's war is horrible. And atrocities can be committed by both sides. Let's face it, there's atrocities that have been committed by the Russians, and yes, there's atrocities that have been committed by the Ukrainian soldiers. It's ugly. War turns. Let's face it. We take these men, we turn them into warriors, men and women, but usually men. We turn them into warriors, and we put them in a battle where they're just seeing death and destruction every day. And some people don't know how to cycle that. It messes them up. That's why we have PTSD and violence and suicides, the whole deal, because you turn them into a killing machine, and sometimes that goes into a whole nother level. There was a great movie many years ago. Remember the one, or not a movie? It was an original. It was a created series. It was on Prime, I believe. Prime. Um, anyway, the guy that they cut one of the episodes covered about a guy who sits in a room and he directs the drones in, you know sits in a computer desk in a air conditioned room, dark room, and they're taking people out, and he couldn't handle it. I mean, it's like playing a video game, but it's real life, and that's going on. I mean, that's going on. People are programming these things, they're watching these things, they've got cameras on them. Sometimes the drone itself is looking for the target, and sometimes they can redirect that drone and pinpoint and target it right into a room, a building, a car, a home, you name it. And so there's a lot of violence that has occurred, and those hatreds go way back. So back to the original thought is, I'll just be honest. I don't want to see the United States, me personally, as a citizen, I don't want to see the United States put boots on the ground in the middle of that. And I just don't think. Now, you got to, I guess you could say I want to be like a Missourian. You got to show me how us using Gaza and being over as a real estate developer, show me how that's going to work to the extent that it's not going to be a disaster. And I'll listen. But as of right now, that seems a little far fetched to me. And how do you round up that many Palestinians without it being 2 million. How do you round up 2 million Palestinians and deport them? It isn't really a deportation because it's not official. There's no Palestine. It's an area. But still, we'll just go with it. A deportation of 2 million people from that place and putting them on planes or ships, setting sail or flight for Africa. Wow. And are we going to be putting boots on the ground, pulling people, forcing people in? I mean, I'd in no way want to see that. I mean, they're not going to line up with their luggage and say, hey, we're going to Africa. We're going to Somaliland, Sudan, yay. Sudan or bust. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to pull these people in at force. Let's face it, at gunpoint. You're going to have to force these people onto, and that imagery for me is something I don't, what the heck? I don't want to see that. I just, honestly, that plan seems like hell for America. If I'm wrong, throw it in the chat. I'll listen to you. We're here for discussion. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. It's scary to me that America would be involved in anything like that. And the speed at which I didn't know they had reached out till I read that. I'd heard loosely about moving them, but I thought it was Egypt or Saudi Arabia, still fraught with trouble. But you're going to put them on planes and ships setting sail and flight for Africa? We remember the violence that occurred when they forced the Jews back from outposts or lands that they controlled in Gaza, and the hell that was, as people stood their ground and fought and held on to things. They were pulling them loose and kids screaming and crying, the arguing, the guns. I mean, it was a horrible scene. And there are people that will never forgive that other side for doing that. Can you imagine? And that wasn't no 2 million people. Can you just imagine? Wow. That's just the craziest thing. And he calls that, or they're saying that's his vision. And so Somalia, Somaliland, and Sudan. Wow. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing like, who wants that vacation destination? I understand where you're at. It's no good. It's bad, right? There's no running. I mean, heck, Israel's cut out the electricity and water of late. I don't think they've turned that back on. So where's the water coming from? There's still food supply issues. There's still violence. There's all these problems. There's still hostages. It's a hellhole. And wow, just and of course they're going to deny it. There's no way those nations are going to want us, all the other Arab nations, mad at them for agreeing to this, or African nations with the Arab nations or whatever. They're not going to want them to be okay with that. Of course they're going to deny it. And what did they offer them in return for doing it? It's not like they held their hands up and said, hey, we'll take 2 million people over here. We're not able to feed all of our people right now. We've got a little bit of violence control going on here. Police are dying, soldiers die. There's some terror groups in operation. But we could take on 2 million more people. Who's getting the cash? I don't know. That just sounds crazy to me. They're offering them cash, yes, diplomatic and security. Okay, well, how are you offering security to that? Are you putting troops there? How do you offer security unless you're talking about the African Union? I don't think that's going to work. How are you going to ensure security in those areas for those people without putting up a certain area that is secured with American forces? Bad idea. Bad idea. I'll say it. Absolutely bad idea. I just you might as well be dropping in the middle of Tehran. Wow, and that actually might be better. I mean, honestly, it's bad, but good Lord. And there's all this space that's available there. Of course, the Arab nations are not going to agree to it because they're not going to make any kind of deal that involves Israel and Gaza and the U.S. That's not going to happen. No matter how much money you offer, it's just not going to happen. Um, I was trying to look through here. Somaliland in this conversation. That sounds like a terror. Um, it's like Six Flags. Hey, folks, come to Somaliland. Bring the family. We've got roller coaster rides where occasionally you might have to duck down for crossfire between terror groups. You know, there might be some drive-bys and an occasional drone that drops in. Somaliland. Who wants to go there? Who plans a vacation spot in Somaliland? So they have talked to them about um, they talked to them about a recognition, a quiet conversation with Somaliland about a range of areas where they can be helpful to the U.S. in exchange for recognition. The possibility of U.S. recognition could provide an incentive for Abdullah to back away from the territorial solidarity with the Palestinians. United Arab Emirates, other Abraham Accord country, are trying to get support from. But, you know, you got Yemen there. That's the Houthis. They said that Somaliland has been lauded for its relatively, notice the word relatively, stable political environment, contrasting sharply with Somalia's ongoing struggle amid deadly attacks. But these areas get overran by Islamic aggression. In fact, that's going on in Sudan. That's why the split. Somalia's ongoing struggles amid deadly attacks by Al Qaeda linked militant group Al Shabaab. Since 1991, Somaliland has maintained its own government, currency, and security structures. Still, it has one of the lowest income levels in the world. An official in Somaliland, speaking on condition of anonymity, because he's not authorized to talk to the media, said his government has not been approached and is not in talks about taking in Palestinians. Somaliland is a vocal supporter of the Palestinians, often hosting peaceful protests on its streets in support of them. The country recently joined the recent Arab summit that rejected Trump's plan and seems like an unlikely destination for Palestinians, even if they could agree to a move. That's an amazing article. Go read that. You can see that at Newsmax. That's an amazing article. I got you, Spartan. I understand. I'm hitting in your wheelhouse right now, so I know you've got a lot to say. And I'm sorry I haven't had time to look at it. I was trying to just my own thoughts and stuff going through it. I'm not ignoring you. I am reading and catching up and looking at what you say. So I'm not ignoring you. I appreciate you being here, and I like it in the sense that we're opposite a lot. We agree on some things, and I like that. I don't want yes people always just around me. I like having people that challenge the position because that's debate. That's how you grow. You learn the transfer of ideas and thoughts, and that's the way we all should be. So as long as we don't attack anybody in chat, and you can have even extreme examples as well. We're different, and I don't boot people for being different from me. And so I am reading it. So some of them I might not put up on the screen, but I am reading them, and I appreciate you being here. You always bring a lot of info, and I like that. We can agree to disagree on some things, but that is such a. I think I would be standing with you in that this plan is not going to work, and it is a. Well, let's face it. I will agree with you that it seems to me it's a way for Israel to take all of the Gaza Strip and claim it. They're not saying that, but who's gonna settle here in this area? Who's going to buy the real estate? Is this going to be set up for the world to come in? Is it going to be a melting pot city or an area, or has that become Jewish owned? I got questions. Or are you going to rebuild it? Because it sounds like a permanent kick out. I don't think that's right. I don't. These people don't deserve that. I mean, the families. I mean, I don't care for Hamas. They can kick them out to Timbuktu. I could care less about them. But the Palestinian people don't deserve that. I'll say it. And for people that believe that every Palestinian is a terrorist, that's not true either. They live under the same threat of Hamas as we do. They're threatened. In fact, Palestinians were shot and killed. They were trying to get the food supplies. Hamas took them out. There video. You could go find it. It's they live by threats and power and fear, and these people are there's business owners. They're trying to run their shops, live their business, and there are people in Palestine that are trying to work to bring about peace. There are peace activists in Palestinian areas, Gaza, and the West Bank, who are highly educated, who are trying to bring about a peaceful coexistence. In fact, they have friends across with their counterparts, the Jews, and they are trying to work on peace. I've listened to these people. I know some of these people. And so, again, I don't want to paint that brush over a whole group of people. But this idea, number one, there is going to have to be a rebuild. Right now, it's a war zone that is largely, a lot of it, maybe not all of it, but there's just no infrastructure. It's gone. So you have humanitarian issues, food, water, electricity, not many safe structures. Some areas may not have been hit as well as others. There are others where the whole area just looks like a bomb went off. There's a lot of death, yes. Hospitals are short of supplies. Yes, the hospitals have been used as staging grounds for terrorists underneath there. But hospitals, it's a mess. That's all we can say. We can say it's a mess. We can disagree on what all the causes are, but I don't think anybody can look at the region and say it's not a mess. It is a mess. It's not good. And I've seen the video too. This whole building's just brought down. Looks like a mini 9/11. I mean, let's be honest. We saw it. And we can agree or disagree about the actions behind that. But I'm just curious. Some of you are listening from around the world. You're not here in America. Most are, but there are some. But do you like this plan? I mean, is this make sense? Does it have a hint of possibility of working? Am I looking at it wrong? Is Somaliland, maybe it's okay, better to be there than Palestine for a time if they agree to go? Does it look like they're going to agree to go? Again, what I just see in my mind, I just see this forced, aggressive action of taking people away from an area they claim as home and forcing them to move to another area with the possibility they may not be allowed to come back. And this flies in the face of UN 242 and 138. Or is that 238? I think it's 138. No, it might be 238. Sorry, Spartan can tell me. Probably sure you know the numbers on the UN resolutions. I know it's 242, but I think it's 238 or 138. I think it's 238. And that is that they will not only establish Palestine as a nation, but the right of return that has always been a huge sticking point in the argument for Arabs coming back in. Of course, now it's the kids or even the grandkids. It's been so many years. Do they still have a right of return? Israel says can't do that because they would make them full citizens in Israel and that they would vote them out. So I understand that too. It's an ugly, ugly, ugly thing. And I guess we can just say it this way. The British messed this up and they didn't want nothing to do with it anymore. I mean, if you go back and read about the British Mandate, and if you're British, you might disagree with what I'm saying, but the British Mandate is a failure. I mean, it did establish Israel as a nation again, and that's historic. Yes, yes, the Arabs did not vote and did not want the two-state solution. That's always been American policy to create a two-state. I don't believe biblically that's ever going to happen, although half of Jerusalem is taken during the last days, and it's ugly. War is going to continue to happen in Israel. Prophecy. I mean, as a Christian, we read the Bible and we see it. There may be moments of peace, absolutely, as the end days coming to view, but there's a lot of bad stuff here, and America right in the middle of that mess. Good Lord Almighty, we got enough problems here with our own invasion. I know that the president has to look around the world, but wow, I'm gonna I'm gonna read a little more about this. Um, uh, a lawyer and a conflict researcher in Nairobi in Kenya said it's difficult to understand why Somalia would want to host Palestinians given the country's strong support for Palestinian self rule. It doesn't make sense, does it? Money. That's what realignments keep changing. So maybe there's a hidden agenda in why Somalia. That's Sambu Chip Career. I just think that thing just sounds ugly. I didn't get to the Canadian story. I would just say that there has been the changing of the guard there. Canada's still talking a little um, strong about America. The tariffs are ongoing. We'll get to that next time. We'll probably talk about that Sunday night on the news desk. I do want to talk about Canada, but that's a crazy story. That it's just again, it just seems so radical. What in the world? Um, Live updates from the region. Hamas officials claim Gaza talks quote failed. IDF striking Gaza kills 9. Um, the war is still ongoing. I mean, so there's more carnage going on. So amazing. This thing's going to intensify, and it's going to intensify within America. We need this thing to settle out here. It's going to cause the problems in our own nation. So be wary. Danger. That was one of my MAGA minutes for this past week or the week before. It might have been last week. I think it was this early this week. Danger, Mr. President. You are treading where angels may be feared to tread. You got to be very careful with this one here. And yes, the Ukraine-Russia is an ugly one, but this one has the potential to be even uglier, my opinion. And we didn't even talk about China and North Korea and other things that are going potentially could be going on. We didn't talk about, are we taking over the Panama Canal? Because that's what he said. We didn't talk about that either. Maybe these stories we can jump into on Sunday night. As for the rest of the day, I will be chatting online, but I'll be working tomorrow morning at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sunday morning in the Word. Grab your cup of coffee and let's open the Bible and let's feed our soul in the morning at 8 a.m. At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have the news desk and maybe a late night show, possibility late night. I'm not sure on that one. I do try to do a Sunday afternoon show, but I'm not going to do that this Sunday because I need to send all of the things that I need to send our web person who is building our website. I need to get that done. So I'm going to take Sunday afternoon, watch a little NASCAR, and be ready for the NASCAR. Watch that too. I got to do my research, right? I like the race and send everything. So I'll be multitasking. But if you need me, and also, I don't think my friends, I'm going to respond to an email I got today. And absolutely, if you're listening out there, don't think you're in here, but if you're listening, the one who contacted me, absolutely, we'll be getting together soon because we have to arrange that with both me and Rob. I think you asked for both, so we'll get together soon. It's not possible today, probably not possible tomorrow, but certainly probably Monday night, Monday afternoon, Monday night, we can get together, or definitely Tuesday. So I will reach out by email. You know who you are, and we will get together. I don't want to say on the air. God bless you, Spartan. God bless you, NC Native. All the people in Instagram, from X, we have quite a few in here from around a lot in X. Thank you for your support on X. A lot of new followers. We're trying to follow as many of you as we can, trying to build those social media accounts up on X, and we try to do that. God bless America. Love America. Support the president. I just don't like this plan. It's one that worries me. But America first, and let's get things going.
So pull up a chair, y'all, and stay a while. Ain't nothing like that Southern style. From the morning show to the soundstage band, it's SFP Live, won't you give 'em a hand? Oh, well, it's early in the morning, grab a cup and tune on in. Robert and Dave got that Southern charm, let the laughter begin. From the morning funny to MAGA minute, ain't no better way to start your day the Southern way, with a little joke and pray. We're just Southern folks talking Southern things, front porch swinging where the church bells rang. From Mama Said to Hump Day News, we keep it real with down home views. Sunday morning in the Word, get that gospel flow. Prayer time calls, so let's let our troubles go. Come Monday night, Mama Said is bringing the truth, and when it's night talk with Dave, man, you know it's getting loose. We're just Southern folks talking Southern things, stories and sports where the good times hang. From SFP News to I Remember That, we tell it like it is, and that's a fact. Got our veteran of the week, gotta show our pride. Pets of the week, bringing love worldwide. Talking paranormal, digging true crime. Southern fried stories all the dang time. So pull up a chair, y'all, and stay a while. Ain't nothing like that Southern style. From the morning show to the soundstage band, it's SFP Live, won't you give 'em a hand? find you. A mournful call, so raw and true. Through misty hills the echoes play, chasing the ghosts of a fading day. The wind, it dances with the sound so bold. Silver whispers through the cold. Mountains weep as the notes do climb, a sorrowful hymn that escapes through time. Oh, hear the cries of the rising pipes, feel the strain where the soul collides. A tune that wraps in a tartan shroud, lifting the hearts of the heavy bowed. The valley listens with thirsty hills. Quiet falls as the music spills, a thread of past where the future leads, carried afar by these ancient seas. A lone piper stands where the clouds kiss earth, a solitary hymn giving life its worth. Each note a tear for the ones we've missed, echoes that linger through highland mist. Breathing life where silence grows, the pipes unlock what the heart bestows. Eternal words without the sound, heavy hearts they firmly ground. Oh, hear the cries of the rising pipes, feel the strain where the soul collides. A tune that wraps in a tartan shroud, lifting the hearts of the heavy bowed.